Hey everybody, welcome back to the Remembering Whodunnit Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Slattery. Unfortunately, Matt DeGennaro could not be with us today, but that is not an issue because today we have a very special guest. We have the one and only Kam, the winner of ABC Whodunnit. Dude, this is like, I don't even know what to say. So thanks for coming on and thanks for being willing to answer some
Yeah.
questions.
Hi everyone. Happy to be here. I obviously loved Who Done It. I can't, I agree that there should be more content. Yeah, I love talking about it. So hit me with your best questions.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we're going to touch on like all different areas, like I said. However, do you have anything you'd like to say first before I begin?
No, I think I'll let you
All right.
guide us along.
All right. So, believe it or not, today is the day. It is the 13-year anniversary of the show's premiere. So, tonight at
Yeah.
9 p.m., it'll officially been 13 years, which makes me for really old, even though I'm only 23. So, there you go for that. But
Yeah,
in
well,
that,
imagine me.
yeah, I don't want to say it, so but anyway, in that spirit, have you thought about the show at all since it aired? Have you rewatched it? Is there anything that reminds you of it? Anything like that?
I haven't rewatched it um in a while. I've definitely watched it with like friends and sort of introduced them to the show. Um, but it changed my life. I mean, the show, not the necessarily the prize, but experiencing like the game, it the reason why I'm always so excited to talk to people about it is because I actually don't think it translates that well. Like as much as you may enjoy watching it, it is incredible to play Whodunit. It is like such a cool experience. I would have paid them for it. In fact, the uh, it's kind of a weird plug since they are shut down now, but I for my 40th birthday, I went on the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, which is like this hotel that mimics like a spaceship in the Star Wars universe. And you choose like the light or the dark, the rebels or the alliance, and it is the closest thing I think I got to what Who Done It was. But Who Done It every single day, it's focused on 12 people, and the budget is $750,000 a year, a day. So it was an experience that you could not really pay for even if you tried.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, luckily, me and Matt were able to give that experience to some other people at our college. They got to play Who Done It. It's such a
Yeah.
different game compared to, Survivor, Big Brother, even Traders, which is kind of a little bit like it, but just all the murders, the setup, the finding clues, stating your case. There's just for any forensic, nerd or just people who love CSI, anything like that, it's like a dream come true. That's why I loved it so much.
Yeah, there's like those like murder mystery dinner parties, right?
Hmm.
Where like everybody chooses a character and whatever. And I think that's like the closest that it gets to whodunit is like a competitive version of
Hmm.
that, where like
Yeah.
you get to choose what character you want to play.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of in that again in that same spirit, my first question is a little bit about like the production side. What got you to apply for the show? And have you always been interested in like, this CSI, forensic file, murder, mystery type of stuff?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna take them backwards, right? So yeah, I've
All
always
right.
been interested in not just like the murder mystery kind of thing, like Sherlock Holmes, the Hardy Boys I was really big into when I was a kid. Encyclopedia Brown was my jam. So like I always loved like those sort of like logic puzzle mystery kind of things. But separately, I was also, I have a degree in criminology. I was in law school. I actually spent a lot of my law school focusing on forensic and technology and forensic evidence. Um, obviously I watched CSI and all of those. It is especially nowadays. It's to a point where you can't, as a like a litigator, train to try a case and not understand the CSI effect, which is the
Hmm.
expectation that CSI has put on people, where everybody thinks that basically every crime scene is just riddled with semen everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't have some kind of forensic evidence, you must be making it all up. So it's always something that I was very, very interested in. I, as a kid, was really into, I mean, I've always been like really obsessed with TV, but I was into like filmmaking. And a lot of my like school projects and stuff were always uh, like little movies and stuff that I would shoot. And I never had like any aspirations of sort of being on TV or like being involved in like that side of things. But, you know, when I found out about Whodunnit, it just sounded like such a cool opportunity. I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons guy too. So
Okay.
like this is like to me was an opportunity to like live action role play in
Hmm.
like a very kind of cool sort of setting and sandbox. Um, and the way I found out about it was kind of random. I basically I found like a Facebook post from New York, the New York chapter of like of Mensa.
Hmm.
Um, Apparently the whodunit casting process had gone to a certain point where they had cast like the whole sort of they had a cast already, and they apparently decided that they needed to lean into the reality fiction sort of genre that Anthony Zeiker invented for the show. And so the people who were coming onto the show had to have like a reason why they were candidates for this serial killer's arch nemesis. And so they started reaching out to places like specific, I think Ulysses got scouted like that to
Hmm.
Ronnie. I think they reached out to him, same reason, right? Like he's a bounty hunter. And they
Yeah.
were looking for people with sort of those credentials. And they reached out. Basically, they had Mensa give them like their member thing, and they sent on an email blast. And it sounded like a really cool, interesting challenge, and not a thing that I was like look on the lookout for. But I submitted for it. And actually,
Hmm.
my audition tape was a parody of the Taken, and the scene where like Liam Neeson is talking with Marco, and he's like, "Oh, I got a particular set of skills." Like that was
Oh,
sort of
oh
my
yeah, yeah.
pitch. That was sort of my pitch. Is like I have a very particular set of skills that's not really useful outside of situations like whodunit. I mean,
Mhm.
even at work, it's not exactly not I think I'm a better TV detective than I would be in real life.
Yeah, there's definitely that's what Ronnie talked about too. There's definitely different parallels between like a real life crime scene and like, what the show ended up setting up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess
For
the
me,
okay, yeah,
the
yeah.
one question that you probably won't ask that I wouldn't get into, like that is actually the interesting thing that you pick up as a player that you might not get as the audience is like the gamification of this murder mystery, right? Like it's not just enough to plot out like a TV show where like this is the murder that happened and whatever. You also have to figure out a way to make it competitive between the players to get to the solution, and it has to be a solution that people at home, at least when you lay it out for them, that they can follow, right? So like,
Yeah.
the thing with like the castor beans to the ricin, and they need, it's like the idea of like presenting the raw material first, so then you can understand, oh, from that comes then, this powder. It's like that is like I think the thing that was the coolest about Whodunit is how they converted this like CSI kind of plot into a game that you could fight over
Hmm.
with people. Um, and but I'll say that the biggest flaw for me, I think, is that at the end of the day, who did it did not matter as much as
Yeah.
how, right? Like that is the part where I think there was like a missed opportunity is to get the who be sort of plot relevant.
Hmm. Yeah, and I rewatched, Golden Cups, the last episode before this, just to kind of get like my mind in the right headspace. And that's a confessional you say right at the beginning, where it's like, this team of three, Chris and Lindsay, you guys, we did really good in this how done it phase, but now we're going to talk about who done it, and that's what this whole finale was. And that's kind of my next question. So for the confessionals, like, where did you guys do them, and what was like the process like? Did they have you just do it like in chunks, like you'll record a challenge and then everyone goes to their hotel room, they call people down one by one? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, so that's I actually watched your episode where
Oh,
you went through the Zillow
mhm.
listings of the Whodunit house,
Dude, it's
and
crazy, right? It's crazy.
it's wild,
It's nuts.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Two things. One, I think the reason why you were having so much trouble is because it's not that it's fake, but there's definitely some,
Hmm.
real estate fuckery in
Yeah.
the way they photograph those rooms Like there's like that room that you see that's like two long couches on the floor. That is that central room where like Sherry died, right? So like
Yeah.
there's no way you can have those couches there. They're CGI'd in. They're not even AI'd in. But if
Yeah.
you look out of any of the windows in those photos, you'll see. It's one thing when you've never been to that house, but I lived in that
Yeah.
house,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so
Mhm.
like I'm trying to locate the rooms by looking out the windows that I
Mhm.
would look out frequently. And none of the views from those windows makes any sense. It looks like if you pay attention, like it looks like something out of Roblox or
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like in the Doom universe, like the trees are like cubes.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
strange.
Mhm.
But the biggest thing that I don't think you're aware is that the house is like more of a set than anything
Mhm.
else. Like the rooms shift all the time. And so
Okay.
you were having trouble sort of placing certain rooms because you're thinking of rooms that actually exist overlapping, right?
Yeah.
Like the study and the library like became one and the same. Like the room where we would like regularly give like the statement of the case, right? That room is also like where Ronnie wrote his letter right
Yeah.
before he
That's
died.
that's what I was having so much trouble with, like in my head
The
trying to place things.
the game that you the room that you call the killer's lair,
Hmm.
right, is like actually right as you come in the front door, right to the right. And
Hmm.
that's where most of the confessionals were recorded in there.
Oh,
Some of the
okay.
confessionals were recorded in the theater, which is downstairs in the basement.
Hmm.
Um, I actually, you asked about the morgue. The house definitely did not have a morgue.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I choose to believe the house did not have a morgue, but it was like pretty built in there. Like
Hmm.
I think there was like actually a really large room down there, and they divided it up and
Yeah.
added the morgue.
Hmm. Yeah, that's some really good insight. And yeah, dude, the first image that I found on that Zillow thing, it like shell shock. I was like, this is not the same house. This is not the
It's
same
so
house.
weird, and they
Yeah.
messed with all the land. I mean, I messed with. They can do whatever they want, but like
Hmm.
the house now sits on like a flat, kind of weird
Hmm.
golf fairway looking thing, and before the house was very elevated. And that was a thing that was huge for me because when you look out of the parlor, the room where um the pool table was, right? Right out that window is where the killer supposedly shot with a slingshot through that window and hit Sherry in the back of the neck. And
Hmm.
there was only three people that even got to the end of the that first riddle, right?
Yeah.
Like that locked box where the slingshot was in, and nobody ever got up to the railing like I did to get the code off of the
The
thing.
window. Yeah.
And so you realize when you do that like I had to climb up, right? The missing pane that was knocked out by the slingshot was taller than me on the railing, which is above ground level. Like
Hmm.
that's why I was convinced from the get-go that the person who killed Sherry was had to have been tall. And the only person who was, like noticeably tall was Gino. That's what
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
him my very first suspect was nobody else could have. I mean, it was also kind of like a weird. It's it's such a cag shot anyway. But if
Hmm.
you are like Bullseye from
Yeah.
Daredevil or whatever, and you can whatever, you're still going to have to be tall to just get
Hmm.
that angle to go all the way across the house and
Yeah.
hit her in the bright spot.
I know they kind of toyed with that too, because with us Dana and Sasha's murder, they did the size 13 shoes, but they stuffed them with
Yeah,
tissue. And same thing too. Like it wasn't even a gun; it was a slingshot. And like I don't even know the accuracy
right.
that they were proclaiming is like nuts. So with that take though on evidence, I did want to ask. Were you guys allowed to directly lie about things that you found at the different areas? So, for example, for Dante's murder, let's say, could you have said, "Oh, there was a gun in the pool"? Like, could you have just directly lied?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
yes, the short answer to that is yes. The
Hmm.
long answer, I think, is let me get into the villain edit
Yeah,
that
I,
I
I was
had
gonna
of the
say, yeah,
show.
yeah,
If you pay attention, what you'll see is I am the only person that does not lie to somebody at any point in the game.
yeah. Hmm.
And if you look, it seems like Chris isn't, except she's lying about a big one, right?
Yeah.
But never does anybody come to me for information and walk away misinformed or with false information,
Hmm.
right? I will just say, no, you
Yep.
can't have it.
Yep.
And, the two fights that I guess are the things that like cemented my villainy
Yeah.
were both times that I was calling people out on like abusing that, right?
Hmm.
Like Sasha came and stood next to like my trio and wanted to hear like our discussion without contributing, without offering evidence, without saying please, without saying, "Oh my God, I'm so lost. I'm afraid I'm gonna die.
Hmm.
Please take pity on me and just let me have your evidence." No, just you know something, I want to know it, and literally said, if you're not gonna tell me, you can't tell the rest of your team because I'm
Yeah.
gonna be standing right here. That's what our somehow I that's like the start of my villainy is
Yeah.
saying like, no, Henny Penny, you can't have the product of my labor
Mhm.
without an exchange. Like that's not what this game is. And you'll have to bring me back on point here, but I want to point out that this was after me, Sasha, and Melina went to the pool, right? Which is we were talking about the
Mhm.
gun in the pool. The There's like a shot that they use all the time. Like it was like in every commercial. It's like in every trailer. It's a shot of Sasha and Melina holding the Saint whatever pendant that they found that came from the bottom of the pool. Both of them refused flat out to go into the pool,
Mhm.
right? Like they looked like there was the clue that I thought was in there was that there was a fragment of the pajamas,
Yeah.
right? But they flat out refused, and I'm the only one that went in the pool. I had no reason when I grabbed that pendant. I could have just dropped it right back in the pool, and they were not going to go in because they didn't want to
Mhm.
mess their hair up.
Yeah.
And I could have had
Yeah.
100% monopoly on that evidence. And I walked over and I gave it to them. And it's like a famous moment of them looking at the clue that I gave them. And then after that, they came, or Sasha at least came, demanding more, insisting that even that was not enough. And
Wow.
because I rebuked her,
Mhm.
that makes me the villain.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that is yeah, wow. Well, we're gonna talk a little bit more about the game in a bit, but my last
Yeah.
question for production side was how hard was it to hide the fact that you won? Were there like certain stipulations that you had to follow or anything that you can say, I guess, or want to
Yeah.
say?
I guess it wasn't hard because they didn't pay until after the finale aired. So it's not
I
like
didn't
I
know that. I
could.
thought that was a rumor, so that's true. They did not
Yeah,
give you
yeah,
the
they
money.
did that, and
Okay.
they did it intentionally, and
Mhm.
rightfully so. So I couldn't just go blinging,
Fall out on
and
like a
immediately they would
car and like yeah,
notice.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Um, yeah, a friend of mine, the finale aired in August, right,
Yep.
of whatever of 2013, and a
Hmm.
friend of mine's birthday is in mid-August, and like she had a tradition of we always would go on like road trips for her birthday.
Hmm.
So it was like 3 or 4 weeks before where we'd already booked. Then we probably booked the trip before the show even premiered,
Hmm.
and like 3 or 4 weeks before the finale, they're like, "Hey, we're gonna be on this trip when this last episode airs." I'm like, "Yeah," and like, "Are you gonna be on it?" We'll have to wait to find out. So we actually ended up watching the finale in the Keys, like an Airbnb,
Hmm.
and it was awesome because I was, I had like the group of friends were all like very close group of friends, and so we watched the finale and then went raging afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the the only in terms of regulations,
Hmm.
what I'll say is they going back to the beefs, right? So the
Hmm.
third beef I would seem to have is Dawn, right? I found out after we watched the show that apparently Dawn was like shit talking me behind my back. And then I forget the term, but it's like a Franken quote or a Franken blurb or whatever. Production had me like had like a shot of me starting into a confessional and then cut away. And then the rest of it was like just a bunch of words like spliced together to make like a half-assed kind of insult about Don to sort of make it
Oh, I
even.
see
Like
what you're
I was
saying. Yeah,
talking
yeah.
shit about him, he was talking shit about me. I forget what it is
Hmm.
that they say I said about him, but
Yeah.
I said nothing. And
Yeah.
I was not only did I not shit talk him, the reason he took off his Police Benevolence Association 20-year anniversary ring while he was a football coach is because I told him, I'm like, hey, dude, you're supposed to not be a cop, right?
That's crazy. Yeah, he
Like
wasn't
I
fooling
helped him
anyone.
out. I
He,
helped him out, and then I find out that he's talking crap behind my back. But anyway, the point
yeah.
is that when they aired that, I like tweeted something along the lines of like, "Hey, if you're gonna make up that I should talk somebody, at least make it grammatically correct. Because if you're splicing words together, like why can't it make proper
Yeah.
sense? Because it was like gibberish, whatever it was that they made me say.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, I've never had a reaction to a tweet as strong as I've had a reaction to that tweet. My phone was blowing up with lawyers from ABC. And
Oh
of course,
no.
at this point, I've won, but I've not been paid, right? So like
Mhm.
anybody else, I think could probably be like, yeah, screw you. I'm going to leave this tweet up. What are you going to do? Like
Yeah.
the, I think the per diem is like $125 a day. So I think it might be worth it if there's something you really want to say, but not for
Yeah.
$250,000.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yes, very quickly deleted that tweet.
That's
Now I've already spent it, so they can't come after me for it. Good
yeah.
luck.
I was gonna say that's really interesting because I was on a family vacation the week the finale aired, and dude, that's what same th it's so nostalgic for me because I remember going in the room like getting a bucket of popcorn, just like popping it on the TV. So crazy that we were both on vacations or road trips, but
Yeah,
at the same time,
I ran
uh,
into somebody on the street
mhm.
who saw us like going ham, like running down. I mean, like it's already Duval Street is already a party, so it wasn't like
Mhm.
completely out of place. But this person was like watching the show and like realized from the fact that I was running down the street celebrating that I had won and that they
Mhm.
hadn't seen the finale yet because they were going to watch it like the day after or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I spoiled it for somebody in on the street of Duval.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, to keep things going, I want to talk about the
Yeah,
game. So, pretty famously, the show only got one season, and because of that, I feel like we didn't get to see a lot of strategies develop. However, you kind of pioneered the idea of, creating a tight-knit group of three and isolating information. So, I guess my first question with this is, what made you decide to do that? I'm sure, like, we both know why that's a good idea in terms of the game.
yeah,
And you answered this a little bit in your AMA, which for the people watching, I will also link in the description. He did Ask Me Anything right after the finale. Like you said, you don't even remember it, but
yeah,
it's fine. You gave a lot of detailed information, so any better questions are probably answered in there. But anyway, so what
yeah.
made you decide to
And
do it?
and
And
also,
then, oh, sorry, and then for
no, sorry.
season two, if the show ever got a season two, what strategies would you have liked to see develop if they stuck with a similar format? So yeah, sorry, that was
Yeah.
long-winded.
So
There you go.
the other thing I'll say is that if anybody who finds me on Reddit can message me whatever questions they have.
Mhm.
I love talking about this game, so I'll take any opportunity. Um, we found out the rules of the game the day before. It was actually the first time that we were all in the same room together, even though we weren't allowed to talk. And that's like something that we probably should talk about, which is like you don't understand how much time you spent in isolation, like sensory deprivation. You're blindfolded, earmuffs on. You know there's people near you, but you have no idea what's happening.
Mhm.
Including while everybody else, like while somebody's at the confessional, right? You're completely blacked out,
So
and
you're
then
in
waiting
the
for your
hotel
turn.
room, you have blindfolds and earmuffs on, or
No,
just
no, you're in the house.
oh, you're in the house. Oh,
Yeah,
I see
you're in
what
the
you're saying.
house.
Yeah, yeah,
We didn't finish answering that question, but yeah, the house like resets every episode.
yeah. Hmm.
And so like rooms shift around, like the rooms that you stay in the house shift around. Um, but I forget what the original question was about. But
Yeah.
because of that, you spend a couple of nights in a hotel in between episodes, and then during like that day, you stay in the hotel room in the house, and they
Hmm.
like dry clean your clothes overnight because you got to wear the same thing for a day. Usually takes like 4 days to
The
shoot.
same day. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so in
I'm
terms of
saying
strategy,
alliance. Yeah, like
sorry,
what made you
yeah,
create that alliance, I guess.
so I actually never created an alliance. It was never intended to be an alliance, right? It's obvious that you have three rooms, and the idea is first gathering evidence and then synthesizing the evidence into a theory. I think I'm really good at the second thing, right? Like I think
Mhm.
that's my strength. I think that that's why I won. I also played another game called Snake Oil that I also came up with a strategy there where it also kind of broke their game. And
Mhm.
also they never got another season. And I think that's really that's what my strong suit is. Like, that's why I was attracted to both of these shows. Um, it's very obvious right away that there is no reason in this game to lie, right?
Mhm.
That there's no reason why you need to lie as much as the having a monopoly, having leverage on information. And nobody can do that to you if you have one person in each of those locations, right? It was a very obvious thing. And my intention was, with Gino and Ulysses, right? Two able-bodied, strong, tall dudes go and like you don't have to figure any of it out, right? You go and you just memorize as much information as you can and you give that to me. I know that with that I can solve it,
Mhm.
right? And that's kind of what my strategy was. My intention was never like, we'll huddle up and we'll hold the evidence. What happened immediately is the people who went to the morgue immediately started doing that. And they all made an agreement that they weren't going to say anything about the ball bearing and the
Yeah.
shot in Sherry's neck. And I think that's where it started. Like the reality is that as much as it seems like I came up with an alliance, I came up with the idea of three people cooperating and everybody else formed an alliance to try to like
Break that.
counteract that. Because once we had that, right, once we had somebody in each of the locations, then the game came down to who solves that second riddle, that big hidden clue, right? Whoever gets that gets a ton of leverage. And if you don't share it, that's it, right? That
Yeah.
was the end of it. And again, that now becomes like a puzzle solving fight, right? Every one of
Mhm.
those is solve riddles to get this. I'm going to beat anybody you put me against on that, right? It's
Mhm.
like, so I knew that there wasn't an issue there. As long as I won more of those puzzles, I'd be fine. And the only time that I didn't win one was the only time that I was on the chopping block, and the only time that somebody in my alliance ever felt. But the only reason that it came to that is because the entire rest of the house became an alliance. And when I had the third fight, right, was my confrontation with Ronnie, where
Yeah.
I was telling him, "Oh, if you are truly going to betray him like you say you are, tell him now.
Mhm.
Don't blindside him. Don't surprise him at the end. Tell him now." And he's like, "Oh, and you want to have a whole day of awkwardness or whatever." I'm like, "I just want a day of you not pretending
Yeah.
that you're gonna like because you're gonna betray one of us, right?
Mhm.
If you pretend that you're on both of our sides, at the end of the day, one of them is gonna find out that they're wrong." And I didn't want to take the risk that it'd be me. But I explained to him, in that conversation where, you know, he had too many people he had too many people on like this welfare program where people who were just not doing any work were getting access to all of their information because they needed to have the numbers they thought to try to beat our group of three.
Yeah. And then I guess the second part of that question was,
Yeah,
I know in your AMA you gave your own idea for season two, but I guess
yeah,
if the show stuck with the same format, what different strategies do you think would have developed? Like since people would have watched you and seen what you did, do you think anything different or interesting would have come up?
yeah. I think what you'd have to do is maybe add some game to the choosing of locations. So an alliance of three can't isn't guaranteed to cover all three, right?
Hmm.
Because you have to split up in certain ways, and either two ending up in the morgue or whatever, right? Like you have to, from a game perspective, right? They have to like patch the game
Yeah.
by gamifying the selection somehow,
Hmm.
and ideally in a way that can be strategic, right? Like where maybe you can win an advantage that can block a person from a certain area,
Hmm.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, that's why my idea of like having a big space that is like closed off with like security doors, and then having everybody basically just wear like a security armband that you can trade access with would
Hmm.
be a way of like sort of making that access into like a resource that can be traded and bartered away between the players. Um, I think other than that, right? Like if they don't change the rules, then anybody can coast through it. And especially when who done it doesn't matter, the optimal strategy is to make a 3-0 that includes the killer, right? Because
Yeah.
you have one player that is immune from elimination.
And they
And
can't
so
win. And they can't win. So.
and they can't win, right? So they're not taking your money. So,
Oh,
as
it's
much
just
as
smart. Yeah.
it was a huge blind spot on my part because she was playing so honestly
Yeah.
because it didn't matter, right? Like
Mhm.
she was fighting hard. She obviously didn't know the solutions to things in advance, right? Like, so all of these things were like, this is not somebody who pre-planned all of these and is
Yeah.
like trying to beat me at a
Yeah.
game a race that she set up, right?
Mhm.
That's why when I thought who done it mattered, it was very clear that it was not Chris.
Mhm.
Um, but even then, it turned out to be so great in my favor because she likely would have been on the chopping block on that the same time that Ulysses went home, right? Like
Yeah.
that, all four of us probably did poorly that time, but we had one player with immunity, permanent immunity.
Mhm. Okay, so that actually brings up an interesting point. So the killer, Chris, I guess, because it's a 13-year-old show.
Yeah,
Like, get over
right.
it.
And
I
at
don't know.
this
Watch the
point,
show.
it's like the sixth
Um,
sense, like,
yeah.
yeah.
So she had immunity the whole time. She couldn't have even received a scared card if
Yeah,
like.
I don't think she even took the quizzes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I did not know
Yeah.
that. Gotcha. So the next question was a little bit about the finale. So, the question is, when did you guys learn the format of the finale, and how did you feel that it was so different compared to what you've been doing the entire game? Like, at least from a viewer perspective,
Yeah.
it went from solving murder mysteries to family night game show. You know?
Um, you know, I don't think it felt that way. So the vibe is very different when you're like playing this game than like when you shoot it, right? Like we don't have that amazing like background music and like, we see Giles every other day, basically, right? Like
Mhm. Yeah.
a lot of like the set pieces, a lot of like the mood of whodunit, we don't see. And we are basically like in earmuffs, blindfolded, and then like they take them off, and it's like here are the rules for this current game that you're playing, and then you play a game, right? And it's like run around the house and do this, run in the house and do that, solve this puzzle, untie this thing, right? So it doesn't really feel that weird from our perspective because we are like, I'm telling you, it's such a strange, like I don't want to call it PTSD because it's not like that, but it is. It's just such a strange period of my existence. Like those 5 weeks were spent just like being shoveled around and like, suddenly like, okay, go. And like
Yeah.
you had so little time to like discuss strategy and stuff. There was so much about the game. I was going crazy. Literally, I came out one time and I had like love, hate on my
Yeah,
knuckles.
you,
Like,
you wrote that day, man. I thought that was very funny.
yeah, it was just like there's so obviously acting out, like so obviously being a pain in the ass. Like, I apologize to any of the producers that are
Yeah.
watching. Sorry. But man, is you're just under so much stress. And I forgot where I'm even going with this.
Hmm.
Um,
The
but
question
yeah,
was,
so
yeah, how did
the
you feel about it?
finale,
Yeah, yeah.
you always expect, right? I always thought, I don't know if I ever actually had a chance to like discuss like this level of strategy, but I always thought that when we got to four, there was going to be some kind of paradigm shift, right? Like the game had to change because with a group of three, we were locked out, right? It was three, it had to have been us three and the killer is the only
Hmm.
people, right? Because the only person after our perfect alliance wins, the only person who survives is the person with immunity. And
Yeah.
so we knew that at that point there something was going to change, right? And I honestly thought like, well, if I'm going to now be playing on my own and like literally like, kick them off the obstacle course or whatever, right? Like if it's now like go hard, this is great, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm the physically the strongest of all of these people. And it starts with a pure physical strength challenge. That
Hmm.
ice,
Yep.
chopping the ice thing. Like as soon as they brought that out, I'm like, there's no chance. There's no chance, not like to disparage anybody. There was no chance that they were going to beat me in a strength competition.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I knew I had it from there.
Gotcha. When did you know the details of the finale? Like, was it literally like the day of, like that they were like, "Hey guys, going to limo, come back. Oh, surprise, this is it."
Yeah, like
Okay.
we literally, it was that. Literally,
Mhm.
we found out the rules after we came back on the limo, which
Wow.
was like the shortest. We came in from the hotel. we're like in the house, blindfolded for, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. Then it's like, all right, go. And it's like they open the door and it's go and get in this limo. There wasn't
Mhm.
any interaction before.
Yeah.
And then, it turns around and then we're back and we're doing the thing.
Wow.
It does remind me, that you saw like the satellite footage from April of 2013 in
Yes.
that
Yes.
other episode, right? That absolutely was us.
Yes. I
Like
knew it. I
I
knew it. I knew it.
100% recognize that row of porta potties right
Mhm.
outside of the kitchen there was like that was definitely our production. The weird thing is that the only time I remember that tent out there was for the finale,
Yep.
but the finale was on May 5th. I remember
Mhm.
that 100% because the first day we were free was Cinco de Mayo. So like
Okay.
I know that April of 2013 would not have been the finale.
Okay. Gotcha, gotcha. For the record, I rewatched the footage and kind of went frame by frame. I did not see a magnifying glass near the contract when you were there. For the finale part where you had to go run to see Giles' contract,
Yeah.
Chris pulled it out of nowhere. I don't know if it was under the desk and like you didn't see it. It was not on the table when you were there. So I know that you said this in the Rob Has a Podcast interview you guys did afterward. I
Yeah.
just thought like to give you some. I know you believe it, but I'm just saying
Thank
like
you.
for the people out
Yeah.
there was no magnifying glass that I could see. So,
Yes. Thank
mhm.
you. I appreciate it. I think
um,
I think Whodunit was ahead of its time
mhm.
is part of it. Like the mole coming back, traders being as hot as it is. I think there's an audience for Whodunit now that probably didn't exist then. I just think that they need to, if they reboot it, right, they need to differentiate themselves from traders because it can't just be, especially now that Rue Manor doesn't exist, right? Like it can't just be about the vibes of like the spooky castle. I think they
Yeah.
have to figure out different ways to put people into that story of like, and then there were none, right? Like
Yep.
that Agatha Christie mystery where it is about solving the murder. But my thinking was always like, you need to make the first murder be the one that drives a plot
Hmm.
and make solving it basically impossible. And then every episode, you give away clues that otherwise, like they would never have, nobody could find on their own, right? And
Yep.
so that way, people eventually put it together because eventually you give them the clues, but in the process, right, they're weeded out, so there's only one person who's left when they finally reveal the thing.
Yeah. And that's something I say. I say it's like a product of its time and it's also ahead of its time. But at the same time, the show stuck, in that time. Like
Yeah.
no one knows it unless you, like I said, I was 10 years old, dude. That was like my favorite show on TV, which is probably a little young to be watching, Whodunit Murder Mysteries, but it was great. And I was telling Ronnie this, but you see Gino pull out an iPhone 4. It's funny. You see the little Twitter things that were so popular in like 2013 reality TV.
Yeah,
They would
those
have
little bubbles, right?
the live tweets.
Like from
It's
the villa. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's so like archaic kind of cable TV, but it's great.
Yeah.
And now these are kind of like the last ending questions. So first one I kind of like a lot is all right, how awkward was the killer slash winner reveal? Because to me it just felt like there was a little enough with the riddles, the ruckus, the rhymes, like that, and then
Yeah.
also there's a funny part where after you win, Giles comes back and it's like, Cam, you're alive. And you're like, yeah, I'm alive. Like, yeah, like I know you talked about that in
Yeah.
AMA, how it was hard to act like you were dying because you knew you weren't, but go anything like that. So what was it like doing that whole reveal, that whole sequence?
So, we've talked about how we found out the rules for the game generally like the night before. We found out the rules for the finale like minutes before. It was always like that, right? That's
Hmm.
something that would be very interesting about a second season because you don't have that element of surprise.
Hmm.
People would go into like prepared, but all of the rules were hidden from us. And we didn't know that it was how done it and now who done it. We did not know that. We did not hear that term, how done it. Anthony Zeiker coined it, right?
Hmm.
Anthony Zeiker calls it a how done it. He did it like in the press and stuff, but he never said that to us when we were
Yeah.
shooting. We had no idea. And so, the whole time we're sitting there figuring out how it is that we're going to, at the end of the day, unmask this killer and how, what it was. I had like all these theories that made no sense based on subsequent murders, right? Like Gino's the only person that could pull off Ronnie's murder, for
Yeah.
example. There's just physically nobody could have possibly done that. Um, there was for the whatever the horseback,
Yeah.
episode
Ulysses.
was,
Yeah.
there was like a thing that played at the end of the dinner before where it was like all of our voices spliced together as like a message from the killer. And so
I
to
remember
do
that.
that,
Yeah.
it wasn't like the AI generated it, which is like
Hmm.
not funny to think how easily they could just do that today.
Yeah.
Um, we recorded the whole way through. We recorded the whole thing, and then they lined them up and like cut back and forth. It's not like they had us, they didn't like choose words. And so we all went to the theater and sat down with Anthony Zeiker in front of us and did like a couple takes of like reading this more menacing, he would say,
Yeah.
like of like, oh, I'm gonna kill you all, or whatever the message was,
Hi,
where it
it's
was like a
Cam. I'm
confession.
the killer. Yeah.
Yes, hi, it's me, the killer. And I'm like, but I'm not the killer though, right? Because
Mhm.
like if I'm doing all of this and I can't win, and you're gonna wait till the finale to tell me that I am ineligible to win this competition, I'm gonna flip the fuck out.
Yeah. Oh,
And he did not clarify. It's not like he
mhm.
said, oh yeah, no, this is just a thing that we're recording, whatever. The killer knows who the killer is the killer.
Yeah.
Up until the finale, I did not know whether the killer knew they were the killer or
I was
whether it
just
was just
about
going to be whoever came in second or
that.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so when Chris first, like, she's first talking and, like, you know, I'm half paying attention to her, right? At this point, where every man for himself, I don't
Final.
care what you need,
Yep.
get away from me. And she's talking, and I'm like, if I haven't already won, I need to get ahead of you. So, you know,
Yeah.
and then she finally drops it and gets into like then she says first, like, oh, you're the killer is you, is what she says.
And you're like,
I'm like,
what? Yeah.
it, it like, it just sounded so weird and like such like a weird way to phrase it and just so out of left field. And, there's part of me where I'm like, is the, is the killer me? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And, and then finally she like, I don't know. I'm sure that they caught it, right? Like you see her crack a smile when she starts like into
The line.
uh the little rhyme, yeah. And that's when I finally realized it. And then there's like all of this going through my head of like, wait, but you're the killer.
Yeah.
How the is that possible? Because if there was one person that I could have bet the whole 250,000 on as not being the killer, it was Chris.
Hmm.
Like there was no way. The way she was playing, there was no way that she was a killer. There was no chance in hell. And then it turns out,
Yeah.
yeah.
What made you think it was Lindsay? Because I know in the show, I have a memory, maybe it's misremembering, but you always seem to be like, I know it's you, Lindsay, but I don't think the show ever gave like a solid explanation. So like, why did you think it was Lindsay, if I'm remembering correctly?
Um, I didn't really know it was Lindsay.
Hmm.
It was just like a process of elimination. Like the only person, again, I thought I was playing something more like Traders,
Yeah.
right? Like I thought that I was in the middle of all these other challenges. I was looking at who was fighting for their life and who was kind of phoning it in, who seemed like they knew more information than they rightfully should, who seemed unconcerned with like what was coming up next. And I think really the reason Lindsay kind of caught my attention is I think she like grew up in England,
Hmm.
and so she has a slight accent. I think she also has kind of a slight that I guess like the stiff upper lip sort of thing,
Hmm.
right? Like I think the just like the cultural kind of aloofness that because she doesn't read as like British, you don't really see it as like
Yeah, I had no
it
idea. She
doesn't
was,
come across.
yeah.
But I think there was just part of that where she was like, she seemed like she had like a lot going on in her head that was not at all about the game. Like the game just sort of didn't matter.
Hmm.
And so I thought she's like purposefully kind of dissociating to avoid giving herself away.
Hmm.
And that she was like, kind of like just off in her head doing all these silly things because she doesn't want to like
Oh, yeah.
show that like she already knows the answer to this puzzle,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha. Yeah. So let's see here. Thank you, like I said, once again for coming on. It's been great. One of the last questions that I have, because I know you said you had to go at 7, was this one. What are you doing now? And have you ever considered going back to reality TV? Any shows spike your interest like Traders, Survivor, Big Brother, anything like that?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's like a well, I'm not sure how to like how much detail to give you.
Hmm.
So I will say, Who Done It really changed my life. Not just kind of the exposure to I'd always been a really big like TV guy, really big movie guy, and um I think, working on Who Done It and like as much as you're like a set piece for the production and you're not like an actor, the experience of like the TV production kind of life was very interesting to me. And I ended up I went to like a acting conservatory and like studied
Hmm.
acting and tried to make still sort of working on it on an acting career. Decent
Hmm.
couple credits under my belt. Um, I'm also writing a lot, which is the other thing that we're like, I never really thought to actually try to do it, but how, seeing the show and seeing how you can kind of like riff on these things that you've known for such a long time really kind of opened my eyes to the idea that I can do that myself. Um, I've, I would love to play again, and I got pretty far into the casting for Big Brother one time, and
Really?
then they told me basically had I because I've been on a show, it was like a no, that was not going to happen, right? Unless I'd
Oh,
been like, especially now it's like Traders has kind of broken those barriers, but at the time,
hmm.
basically the way they made it out to be is like that CBS would have like people from other CBS shows on, but they wouldn't like they didn't want to like
Yeah.
bring up ABC's rep or Whodunit's rep by having, like advertising somebody from Whodunit on Big Brother or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I played another game, this game called Snake Oil,
Yeah, you mentioned that.
which was like a
What was
more
that
like a
like?
quiz show kind of thing, right? Like it was like similar vibes in the sense that it is. So think of it like Shark Tank,
Hmm.
right? Except you're the shark, and you've got these like pairs of really wacky, far out, kind of like as seen on TV type inventions. And one of them is real, one of them is fake. And they'll give you the two inventors will give you their pitch, and you ask them questions. And then at the end of the round, you have to invest in one or the other. And if you get the right one, you win. If you get it wrong, you lose. Um, and yeah, it was the same thing. It's like it's 100% the thing that I was like put on this earth to do.
Hmm.
It's hard to find like places to do it for money, but they made this game show, Snake Oil,
Hmm.
and I'll let people watch it, but yeah, the skills that have served me well in Whodunit served me well in Snake Oil. I
I'll have to
would
check it
love,
out.
yeah, no, it's fun. I would love to go on Traders, even though it is not at all the same sort of skill set.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that you can do as a faithful in finding who the traders are, right? But the truth is that like to win traders, you have to play as a trader,
Hmm.
and I am garbage at like deceit, right?
Yeah.
Part of it's not purely like, oh, I'm this honest person. It's just I am so bad at lying that like I don't want to embarrass myself when I can just tell you no. I'd
Hmm.
rather have the fight than be on the like on the receiving end of like you caught me in this obvious lie and like you're yelling at me,
Yeah.
It's like I just come out like I'm not gonna lie to you. Go
Yeah.
fuck yourself.
I'm I'm similar to the extent where I cannot lie to save my life. So like when we were doing like a mini Survivor game or a mini Big Brother game, the games where I tried to lie, I got totally like curb stomped. Like it was so bad.
Yeah.
But Big Brother, I just went full on like rage bait and just told people straight to your face, "Oh, I'm putting you up." Like I wasn't
Yeah.
lying. And people brought me to the end because it was like, well, he's never going to win. I didn't know if I probably didn't have a chance, but it's
Yeah.
like I said, for people like us, it's hard because there are very, very skillful liars out there. And I guess we're just, we're not one of them. So we just have to adapt in our own way. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess I wanted to say, did you have anything you'd like to add to this? Any last thoughts about any topic, experience on the show, favorite moment, some literally anything. Floor's yours.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, the thing I would say is try out for a game like this, right? Like if you're watching this, if you're watching a podcast about a 13-year-old one-off season murder mystery game, I strongly encourage you to try out for anything that you see that comes along. Like set a Google alert, right? Like anybody who feels that connection to something to this, where like there's every reason not to watch it, right? I'm sure there's plenty of people you've told this about told about who done it to and refused to watch it, right?
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
this resonates with you, I feel you. Like that's something that we have in common.
Hmm.
And I can tell you there's nothing like playing it for real. So
Yeah.
I strongly encourage you, if you're watching this, if you enjoy Who Done It, see if you can find the game. And then, also feel free to be annoying and like find Chris Abrego's number and find Anthony Zyker's
Yeah.
number and ping them and tell them that you want to see more Who Done It because they're off to like much bigger and better things. But I think that there is a world. I think the world is ready now for
Hmm.
a whodunit reboot. And I think if we can, you know, encourage the right people, catch them on like a break or something where they don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they have an extra couple, I don't know how many millions of dollars it took to shoot the first season, but
Yeah.
we could try to do it on a smaller budget, but I think the world is ready for it.
Yeah, and just to echo back what you just said, same thing here. I in a million years did I ever think like someone like, you would respond to me an email asking you, to come on a podcast about the show. No, absolutely not. But I just love the show so much. I want to, get it out there and here you are. So, with that,
Yeah, you know
man.
what? Let me
Yeah,
because I see you're trying to end it, and I'm gonna hang on to
go
the
for it.
bully
Go
pulpit for
as
one
long as you
second.
want. Go for as long
I'm
as you
gonna
want. Yeah.
I'm gonna take that one further, right? Because that is a philosophy of mine generally is you're gonna have to tell me no, right? Like I strongly believe that if you want something, you have to like put everything you can into getting it and wait for somebody to tell you no, right? Until you get that no, you have to keep going. And that's why, I went out on a limb to try out for Whodunit. That's why I've tried out for these other shows because very often they say yes.
Hmm.
Like I think it's common for people to have like that one friend that's like really lucky. And my friends think that that's me, but the real truth is that I'm just the one who's like always rolling the dice, right?
Yep.
Like I'm always taking the chance. And then it pays off. And when it pays off, people see. But there's the same thing as an actor, right? Like how many auditions have I sent out where I can tell from the moment they send me like the breakdown, like this is not for me. It's not right for me. It's whatever,
Mhm.
right? But everybody has seen it. Like that actor that finds that one role that like it's just them playing themselves, but it resonates so well, right? I think like Who Done It was like my first sort of experience of that, of like that weird sort of flow state where just like kind of life lines up. And I
Yep.
think, I can't guarantee you that everybody who goes out there and, starts hustling like that is going to find it. But I guarantee you that you will not find that thing if you don't like push yourself. Nobody's going to come and say, hey, come be on the next Who Done It or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, can't say it much better than that. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So that's
Exactly.
pretty much it. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, dude, I got no words for any of this. Like, I'm still processing it. Thank you so much for coming on here, for giving your spiel, answering some of our questions. Matt apologizes very much that he couldn't join in. I know
Yeah,
he tried to
no,
make it
sorry
work.
to miss him.
Yep. Yeah, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in here that he's going to be like, oh my God, that's so cool. So thank you so much, Cam. And congratulations again on, 13 years ago, your win and everything. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
guys, that's pretty much it for this episode of Remembering Whodunnit Podcast. Me and Matt, hopefully, we'll be back together with that and we'll see you next time. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.